P0141 on this RAM points to oxygen sensor 1/2 heater performance. In plain terms, the PCM is commanding the oxygen sensor heater and may not be seeing the heater respond the way it expects. The truck may seem to run normally, but the MIL can illuminate, and the possible fault area often comes down to the heater control side, the heater ground side, the sensor heater itself, connector or terminal problems, and, farther down the path, a possible PCM issue. Start with the basic system checks before getting into the pinpoint testing. Treat the running conditions as monitor gates, not as a parts call. This heater monitor is evaluated with battery voltage between 11.0 volts and 15.8 volts, O2 sensor heater temperature greater than 401 degrees C, 754 degrees F, engine coolant temperature and ambient temperature greater than 7 degrees C, 45 degrees F, and a difference between coolant temperature at engine start and ambient temperature greater than 9 degrees C, 48 degrees F. The code sets when no temperature change is detected in the O2 sensor 1/2 heater element while the heater circuit is active. Now check for an active condition. Turn the ignition off and wait a minimum of 8 minutes so the sensor can cool down. The sensor voltage should stabilize between 2.47 and 2.52 volts. Turn the ignition on, use the scan tool to actuate the oxygen sensor 1/2 heater control, and monitor O2 sensor 1/2 voltage for at least 2 minutes. If the voltage stays above approximately 4.5 volts, continue with the diagnostic path. If it does not stay above approximately 4.5 volts, treat it as an intermittent condition and work that path instead of forcing a hard fault diagnosis. Next, read and record the DTCs with the scan tool. If other O2 sensor heater circuit codes are active or pending, check what they mean first and follow the applicable diagnostic path for those faults. If there are no other active or pending O2 sensor heater circuit codes, stay on this P0141 path and move to the sensor heater resistance test. Turn the ignition off and give the O2 sensor heater a few minutes to cool down from the scan tool heater test. Disconnect the O2 sensor 1/2 harness connector and measure the heater element resistance on the component side, between the O2 heater control terminal and the heater ground terminal. If possible, measure around approximately 20 degrees C, 68 degrees F, because the resistance changes with temperature. Use the temperature table to judge the range. At 0 degrees C, 32 degrees F, the range is 3.142 ohms. At 20 degrees C, 68 degrees F, it is 3.344 ohms. And at 100 degrees C, 212 degrees F, it is 3.855 ohms. The maximum allowable resistance would be 12.5 ohms at 1000 degrees C. If the sensor resistance is within the acceptable range, continue to the control circuit test. If it is not within range, verify good pentaterminal contact at the sensor and control module connectors. If no connector problem is found, replace the O2 sensor, then verify the repair and confirm the code stays gone. With the sensor side checked, move to the K299 O2 sensor 1/2 heater control circuit. Disconnect the PCM-C2 harness connector, but do not probe the PCM harness connectors. Probing those connectors can damage the PCM terminals and create poor terminal-to-pin contact, so use the GPEC diagnostic adapter to perform this test. Install adapter, GPEC Diagnostic 10436, and measure resistance in the K299 heater control circuit between the oxygen sensor 1/2 harness connector and the GPEC adapter. If the resistance is below 3.0 ohms, go to the ground circuit test. If it is not below 3.0 ohms, repair the K299 O2 sensor 1/2 heater control circuit for an open or high resistance. Then verify the repair and confirm the code stays gone. Next, measure the O2 sensor 1/2 ground circuit. Check resistance between ground and the O2 sensor 1/2 ground circuit at the O2 sensor 1/2 harness connector. If the resistance is below 3.0 ohms, move on to the harness and connector inspection. If it is not below 3.0 ohms, repair the O2 sensor 1/2 ground circuit for an open or high resistance. Then verify the repair and confirm the code stays gone. If the sensor heater, the control circuit, and the ground circuit all pass, inspect the related harness connections. Disconnect the PCM connectors, any related inline connectors if equipped, and the related component connectors. Look for connector installation problems, damaged locks, corrosion, water intrusion, whether seal damage if equipped, bent terminals, overheating from a poor connection, push-back terminals, and spread terminals. Verify proper terminal tension. Repair anything you find. Then reconnect the PCM connectors, any inline connectors, and the related component connectors, making sure they are fully seated and the locks are fully engaged. Erase the DTCs, then test drive or operate the vehicle under the conditions that allow the monitor to run, and read DTCs again. If P0141 returns after this path, replace and program the PCM as specified. Then verify the repair and confirm the code stays gone. If the code does not return, the fix was in the poor connections you repaired. The takeaway is simple. Prove the failure in order, active condition, related heater codes, sensor heater resistance, control circuit, ground circuit, and connectors before calling the module. For more diagnostic training, visit stepdiagnostics.com.